Society is asking us men to change our anger, and rightly so. In this discussion, we go through the habitual dynamics of our anger and how to make changes to it. Right, where do you want to go to with tonight's episode, tonight's conversation?
So, at the end of last week, it seemed as though there's a lot more ground we could perhaps cover when it comes to anger. And maybe we could look at the dynamics of anger. What is anger? Just trying to understand it, unpack it a little bit more.
Okay.
Maybe we can move it then looking what to do towards the end. It'd be good just to explore what's going on a little bit, what's happening in the brain, in the body, and perhaps challenge. I'd like to challenge a few notions around the causes of anger.
Yeah. Fire away.
Get started. Okay.
There's a good angry fire away. That's typical.
That's it.
It was really interesting last week just trying to actually have a conversation about anger because it's not an easy, it's just not, I didn't find it a very easy conversation. Is that background, Is that Fergus in the background?
I can hear that, yes.
How do you, what are the notions that you'd like to challenge around it? One, there is a strong use historically of the use of anger as power and control.
Mm-hmm. Is that noise coming through? I might just go.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I'll be back in a sec.
All right. Cheers. Hi, Debbie. Luke Rhodes, good to see you, mate. We're just having men's conversation. G'day, Ben Russell. Good to see you, mate. We have been having these regular men's hardened conversations every Monday night, basically talking, two blokes chewing the fat over men's issues. What do we need to change? What do we need to take responsibility for? How can we improve? How can we improve the life of men, so to speak, and in our own world, but also that of in our relationships to each other and to our partners and children. All right, so Andrew's back.
I'm back. So for those that don't know, I have a 5-year-old and he's busily pretending to be a tiger jumping off the bed at the moment. So
I'm glad I've been there, done that.
Yep.
So some of the notions that, last week we had the conversation and, I don't know about you, but I found it somewhat difficult to converse in it, to try and have a sort of an intellectual but heart conversation about it. What are some of the notions that you were been reflecting on since last week that you'd like to perhaps put out there tonight to have some dialogue around?
So I think we agree anger is very rarely constructive. There may be times where it can inspire us to take action against injustice, and there are those sort of situations where it's useful. But the type of anger we're really talking about at the moment is interpersonal. And we know that rarely leads to a good place. Now, one of the things that seems to drive anger is this idea that someone or something has made me angry. And that's what I'd like to just explore a little bit tonight and challenge that idea that things external to us can make us feel a certain way.
Yeah, we tend to react, and it's quite common. We always, he or she made me angry, he or she made me anxious, he or she, and the theory behind that is that, no, we react with that emotion, with that experience. No one can make us angry. It's something within ourselves that we're reacting to.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's what I want to look at. Um, I also want to challenge a little bit the idea that we choose to become angry, because sometimes that's the follow-on statement. Okay, it's not the external stimulus; it's something happening within. Therefore, I'm choosing to be angry. Okay, perhaps on a deep level, that's occurring, but you'd be hard put to convince anyone that they're making a conscious choice to become angry. These reactions are happening at the rate of, a tenth of a second. So unless we are particularly insightful, we're very unlikely to catch the moment yet.
And I also wonder too whether a lot of our anger can be habitually default, we can habitually default to it from a neural wiring. I remember doing some Joe Dispenza. I read a couple of his books,
Yep.
and I was noticing, he said that he was of the view that anger is habitual, it's habit formed,
Yep.
and just take a look at, try not to be angry in interpersonal relationships or to people, but getting in the car, driving into town, there's that habitual anger, here it comes, or impatience, and it took a real lot of work, and it's still there from time to time, but it took at least a really good 6 months of observing that behavior, that automatic behavior that was coming out, sometimes out my mouth, but within my body, the tension within my body as I was driving into town. It's a 100k zone and someone's choosing to sit on 80 and I'm having a reaction.
Yes.
The belief, the expectation and the belief system in my mind, hey, it's 100 on this road. If you choose to do 80, there's a shoulder on the road. I'm happy to observe your choice to do 80, but why don't you move over and let everybody pass?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really good belief system, a high expectation. And because I hold that expectation, I'm wondering whether that's also then triggering that habitual reaction.
The expectation people should do 100.
Yes, on 100.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Your expectations are not being met.
Yeah, my expectations are not being,
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
law-abiding citizen. I'll sit on 100.
Okay. So you're in the right,
Technically.
or the seat of righteousness.
Well, the seat of righteousness, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is really fascinating how I just noticed, based on, what he was describing, how habitual
Yeah.
that pattern of anger was. And
Yeah.
is it the other driver, or is it, no, it's not the other driver, it's my reaction that I was habitually addicted to, maybe.
That's
I
right.
don't
I
know.
mean,
Just
the other driver didn't reach inside of you and turn up the temperature dial to cause you to feel hot and flushed, and push a button that made your muscles tense, or flick a
no,
switch that made certain words that might have come out of your mouth.
no, the driver
Oh.
didn't put their hand. But I'm about to blame them. Yeah, it's that. Yeah, there's no equanimity in that, is there? And I've really noticed over the last 6 months, even longer, I've been trying to be really, really mindful of that behaviour or that reaction.
Yeah.
And
So if we think about reactions, and then you look, because you've been examining this, and this is a great example. There was the anger, but if you were monitoring what was happening in your body, I wonder what came first.
Oh, the tension in my body definitely would come first.
Yeah.
And in terms of anger, I'd need to put a rider. It's not at a level of road rage. It might be 3 on the scale or
Yeah.
4 on the scale.
We're
It's enough.
talking
It's
very
enough for,
frustrated.
a level of frustration. I'm noticing the frustration. I'm noticing impatience, which again can be a form of underlying anger. There's an energy in that impatience, which can be a form of anger at some level.
Yep.
What would probably be more appropriate is to leave town at a certain time to give myself plenty of time to have a relaxing drive into town without the expectation of getting there.
Okay, so you could avoid the situation.
By planning much better.
Yeah.
Oh, instead of doing that last little bit or trying to get the last 10 jobs done before, and then, that sense of the racing mind.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just, I notice how entrenched that, jumping in that car, when there's a slope, it's, here's another one to overtake.
Yep.
And it's definitely a pattern for sure. The pattern is getting better. It's taken a lot to learn to let go, learn to change the belief systems and the expectations. And just to recognize it in my body without necessarily reacting to it. Just noticing it's there, sitting with it, trying to change the mindset, the dial in the old mind.
Yep.
It's not an easy practice.
Or
I don't find, it's getting better, but I haven't found it an easy practice.
Yeah, and some days are going to be better than others.
Yeah, some days are better than others. So therefore, what is it within us that makes some days better than others? Why today am I more tolerant or less? I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, it's a good question. We can leave things up to chance, and some days things are better than others, and we're not really completely sure why. Or we can take a more active road towards managing what's going on within ourselves. And so practices like mindfulness, where we have a regular settling and calming of the mind and the mood to prepare us for the day, give us an anchor to return to. And the more we practice it,
I just want to be a bloke here and say, well, why can't the other bloody driver be mindful? That typical. I'm joking, but I'm joking, but you've got a sense. Well, we're allowed to have a sense of humour. Yeah, I hope so. Okay. So sorry to cut in like that, but So how do you establish that mindfulness? What's your process to establish that mindfulness?
So my process with mindfulness, 2 half-hour sessions a day with body scanning. I find the body scanning is a really great way to just notice what's happening in my body, but also it's training. I might have some discomfort, I might have some stress, whatever it might be, And through doing that scanning, it's then being able to sit with that until it dissipates. And so practicing that over a period of time, I find my distress tolerance has increased. So there's more equanimity. I'm less bothered by things. Not to say I don't get bothered, but that's a practice that I found to be really useful, really helpful.
So when you're getting bothered, what are you noticing in your body from the body scans?
So in the moment?
Yeah, in the moment, yeah.
In the moment. So in the moment, often what I will do is just do a body scan once again when I start to feel myself getting wound up. When I do that scan, for me, it creates an objectivity, a little feeling of distance from any discomfort, which could be, shoulders getting a bit tight now, jaw clenching a little bit. This is if it's anger. A few butterflies in the stomach. And that little bit of equanimity just allows it to settle over a few minutes and not go from 3 to 5 to 6 to 7.
When you're talking about stress in the body, is it actually, is it anger, or could it be some form of stress?
Oh, or fear.
Or fear, okay.
Disappointment, any of those things, yeah. If I was driving the car and I was wanting to get to work on time, might not just be, oh, you should be doing 100. It might be, crap, I'm going to be 5 minutes late now. Instead, I get that sinking feeling, and then I'm in the future worrying about those things. Then I'm angry at the guy in front of me.
Yeah, right.
And wanting to put my foot down.
Panicking that you're going to be late for work and therefore you're going to be docked because you've got to clock in.
Yeah.
So to speak.
So stress,
I'm wondering whether stress is an antecedent to distress in the body, and therefore it then can be quite easier to anger or frustration.
Irritability, short-temperedness. Yeah, if you look at the DAS-21, those questions that relate to stress, there's a lot of questions there that relate to anger.
And I'm just being told it's not just a male issue. Sue said,
absolutely, of course not.
I haven't slept well for a while, and swearing is my mode of speech while driving too, Mark. It's mad out there. And so, it's not just a male. Stress and frustration can be across genders.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, when we take this stress and distress into relationships, interpersonal relationships, how does it then become? It'd be just interesting to see how that plays out. And is it that we're stressed from a day's events that we then can be a little bit less intolerant of each other, or intolerant of ourselves maybe?
Yeah. And I reckon that's where it starts. We're feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We want to feel good. Everyone wants to feel good.
Yeah.
Not sure how to feel good. Then we're interacting perhaps with our partner. It's not work anymore, but we've got that degree of stress, and that can be the time where it all comes out. But are we reacting to our partner, or are we reacting to discomfort, uncomfortable sensations in our body that are already there? And I think this is where the problem is quite often. And I'm not, I'll make a distinction here between abusive situations where people are perhaps acting out deliberate abuse for the enjoyment of power over other people.
So they're feeling shit in themselves. So if they're feeling shit within themselves and moody within themselves, then, you know, if I'm going to pour this all over you and make you experience, you know, it's like that projection. I'll project this out onto you because I'm feeling like shit. So therefore, I'm just going to make the whole vibe abusive and power and control and project. Yeah.
Mm. So I really want to just keep it to everyday, you know, arguments, anger,
Yeah.
interpersonal stuff. That level of angry type interaction that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, given the amount of time we've got, if we get into the next level stuff, that
Yeah.
might require a whole other conversation. So I think we start to get more things going on there. Although some would argue it's on a scale, but I probably don't want to go on too much of a tangent.
Yeah.
But if
I
I go
just
back,
wanted,
yeah,
go on. Just in that defaulting, I'm wondering
yeah,
how much that defaulting is also unconscious. Are we?
it's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Go on. Yep.
yeah, yep,
Lead into
yep,
it.
yep. I think this is all happening unconsciously, or we're acting out of ignorance.
Yeah.
Ignorance in terms of we don't realise yet that we're actually just responding to discomfort within ourselves, which we're responsible for, rather
Yeah.
than, oh, they're making me feel this way. And that's really what I'd like to challenge people to think about, is looking at this idea of people and situations make me feel a certain way, and start to unpack that. Yeah.
Well, if I've got a level of distress in my body, well, body, being, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah. Yeah.
mind, you know, I'm just coming to the conclusion more and more that my brain just wants to keep life as simple as possible. If I've
Yeah.
already got distress going on inside my psyche,
Mm.
I don't need to have any more distress in the
Yeah.
environment, in the interpersonal environment, that I'm going to take on more of it. Well, I'm going to react more and more to that distress because my brain just wants it to be take the shortcuts, conserve energy, and keep it simple.
Yeah.
The army used to use that KISS syndrome: keep it simple, stupid. You know, take the stupid out, but keep it simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where have we all learnt, particularly men, that it's okay to project that our own distress out onto someone else's distress, or if whatever the case may be? Where's that come from?
I think it just reflects a broad societal tendency to not recognise that the way we feel is really an inner experience. And we've been very heavily socialised to look outwards for things to make us feel happy, and also for things to blame for making us feel bad. I think it's just a cultural construct, and it's one we need to start challenging and looking at differently.
And so when I'm judging other people, so
Mm.
therefore when I'm judging someone else, am I judging my disowned distress of their personality traits or their characteristics or their behaviour that I don't like within myself?
Yeah, very possibly. And another thing to consider here is
Yeah.
when we hold anger towards someone or judgment towards someone, particularly, I love the example with the car. You know, that anger that you might feel when you're driving in the car.
Yeah.
Now, um, who felt that anger first?
Oh, look, I definitely don't know what the other driver's feeling.
That's right. So
Um,
you're the first
but yeah,
recipient of
I'm the
your,
first. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it's like,
Did
when I'm
did it cheer
pointing the
you up?
finger at that, no, it doesn't. And the other thing too that I've noticed since I've been doing
Yeah.
that Joe Dispenza stuff is that one of the things I've really noticed is, that cliche, when I'm pointing the finger at someone else, there's three fingers pointing back at me.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
And what I've really noticed since, with all the meditation and really actively trying to work on my reactions in the car, I've saved a lot of energy
Yeah.
by becoming aware of the distress or the dis-ease that's within inside my being.
Yeah.
And the more equanimity I bring, I'm wondering whether that word equanimity is very much of a Buddhist term. How do we put that equanimity terms in plain English? I feel like no, I'm not joking. It's not a lawyer term, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it in plain English?
It's like you're on an even keel.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And
You're
that even
feeling pretty
keel,
balanced.
right? And that even keel saves so much energy.
Mm.
It really does. And keeping it simple.
Mm.
So, how do I then let go of that distress so that I can become less frustrated, so to speak?
How do you let go of distress?
Yeah, how do I get in? By getting in touch with my body, there will be something inside my mind, inside my
Yep.
that's
I
that's
prefer
for
I
gone.
prefer the Beatles approach. Let it
Yeah,
be.
gone.
Let it be rather
It,
than let
it,
it go. Yeah, because some people are great at letting it go. I'm not.
e- Easier
Um,
said than done.
Easier said than done. If you can let it be, it will go away on its own.
Or that's that concept of impermanence,
Mm.
feelings, from a Buddhist perspective, pleasant, neutral, unpleasant,
Yeah,
everything's of impermanence, even a good
yeah,
feeling will pass. And so this distress,
yeah.
if I just let it be, just
And
give it,
a great way to let it be is to drop the label for a second. So whatever you think you're feeling, I'm distressed, I'm this, I'm that. Drop the label for a moment. Look at your body. Where do I feel it? Where do I feel it the most? Where's the most intense sensation in my body? And then observe that and describe it to yourself. Describe it. Is it tight? Is it loose? Is it moving? Is it a hot or a cold feeling? Um, just look at it in those terms, and doing that will give you that little bit of objectivity, that little bit of space. This is something I picked up just from the MICBT training that Bruno Kayun runs, and it's a technique he uses. I've seen it in practice and practiced it myself, and it's a good one. It's a good one. It just gives you that little bit of a, yeah, okay. And 30 seconds, a minute of doing that, it'll tend to quite often dissipate.
yeah, and that 10 to 30 seconds is nanoseconds then to change the reaction, the habitual reaction. And I'm wondering whether a lot of those habitual reactions to distress, being stressed, we can easily be annoyed.
Mm.
And when you're sharing that, then I was just going back to the body work stuff, the holding patterns that we have in our bodies. That a lot of our stress will manifest in our holding patterns within our bodies.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm wondering, yeah, when we're going into town, get into a car, are we, yeah, is there a level of fear, a level, oh, here we go again, I've got to travel into town, I've got to hit all that traffic. Are
Yeah,
we then, are we then prepping the reptilian brain on into the fear, expectations?
absolutely. It's exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's
Um,
happening. And when we sit in the car and we tense, we drive in a certain way, then we're activating those body memories.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Yep.
And from those body memories, then that's when the automatic neural wiring, the habitual, and I guess for men, yeah, it's rather than have the fear, let's
Mm.
go into the defensive trait or the
Yeah.
defensive reaction to that
Yeah.
fear, because yeah, if I show fear, I'm there vulnerable. Um, Hence, the typical ongoing road. It gets really bad. That road rage is just, and I would have to say that a lot of the road rage or the incidents of road rage are primarily men getting out of their cars with baseball bats or whatever the case may be, and then
Yeah,
letting
I've
rip.
seen it a few times. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Pretty scary.
To be honest, I have not seen it.
Oh, I have, yeah.
Yeah, no, I've not seen it. Yeah, so how do we, like, anger is, it's a healthy emotion. How do we use it in much better ways than we've been taught or socially conditioned to use it?
How do we use anger in a better
Yeah,
way?
in a better way. Like, because you know, sometimes we can use anger to motivate ourselves to get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
It's like putting the rocket up the and getting motivated to get out and exercise, getting motivated to get the lawn mowed, getting motivated to, I'm wondering whether that's the healthy use of anger. Can we use, sometimes do we need to use a mild form of anger to assert our authentic needs? Yeah, in that
I'm not so
assertion.
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if anger needs to be a part of assertive communication. I think it doesn't. Um, is it normal to feel anger at injustice, social injustice, those sorts of things? And I think it is. I think we can then use a bit of anger to try and get change happening for the better. If we didn't have anger, we wouldn't know that, like we were.
That
It
something's got to
alerts us that
change.
something's wrong. Yeah,
That something has to change. Can I
yeah,
just read out? Jody said, to look at it from the perspective of should I let this affect me, and if it does, let it go, which still has an effect as opposed to let it be, which won't affect me or my day because it really doesn't matter. And I'm wondering, that rather than reacting to everything, if we can just let it go, or just, yeah,
yeah,
does it, to let it be, does it really matter?
yeah.
And I'm wondering whether that's creating a sense of equanimity. Does it really matter?
Well, and an acceptance of our humanity, that we're not perfect and we get angry, we get sad,
And they will pass.
and they will pass. Yeah,
But I'm wondering whether for men, do we let it pass or do we hold on to it and stew onto it because we haven't learned to connect the dots to the deeper experiences, the deeper emotions, the deeper feelings, what's going on in our bodies that sits underneath the reaction to that distress, to our vulnerability, etc., etc.
that's happening for a lot of people, and that's why we're here talking.
All right.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we got going tonight, I'm just mindful of time. You know,
Yep.
we could,
I know I could just keep going.
you could just keep going with this sort of stuff. That's
Yeah.
just amazing how much material here to have these conversations, and it's great to have, you know, people to some of the language that's coming on in some of the messages. I'm not sure whether
I can't see those. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for the for that need to instill road rage and anger on another. From a female's perspective, this is a scary place for a woman when sitting in a car. And I have no doubt at all the experience of men's anger, whether it's in a car, whether if I'm being angry to the driver, then I'm emitting that energy in the car. If my partner's sitting in the car, then she's going to be reacting to that, and it can be a
Yeah.
scary place. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that we men really do need to be mindful that, okay, sometimes, hey, yeah, that impatience, that frustration, chill, take a chill pill,
Yeah.
have some equanimity, leave 10 minutes earlier rather than leaving it to the last minute, so that we can create a better environment, a better space, and more caring and sharing, more loving kindness in the space, because it does change our well-being, and it does save energy. Anything else you want to add to this before we bring it to a sudden close?
No, well said, Mark.
Oh, mate.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm not sure that I'm enjoying fessing up about it.
We've all been there.
Yeah, and look, it is getting better, but yeah, it's been a serious practice just looking at the habit of driving the car, and
Yeah.
trying to establish that equanimity, and learning to save the energy. That's the greatest gift. Is, hey, I've saved so much energy, so by the time I get to the destination, I'm ready to rock and roll because I've conserved energy. There's no built up tension. It's
Yeah.
incredible. It's a really incredible gift to be able to give to ourselves.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Talk
Let's
to you
catch
next
up.
week.
Look forward
Yeah.
to it, mate. Hey, well
See
done,
you then.
and thank you for the contribution tonight. I know you had a big trip back from Sydney, and it's really good
Yeah.
for you to, it's good to see you show up and really, take an active part. Really appreciate it.
No, enjoying it. Thank you.
All right, mate. Talk soon.
Cheers.
Cheers,
See you,
mate.
Mark.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching this video. If you got something from it, please share it, like it, and subscribe. Thank you.